Episode 10. All right. I did not really expect that I would make it to 10 episodes because I don't remember in which episode, but I started, I got back to work and, things got quite a bit more difficult. The lack of time and everything, working 40 hours a week, trying to do this, trying to film videos for Perevia. And I thought that I'm not going to be able to do it. And there were, times where I thought that, maybe I should stop this and focus on Perevia, making videos, creating, clothing designs and such. But, I still managed to find time to do this podcast. So, yeah, we got to episode 10. Um, quite happy about it. I'd say a small victory, 10 episodes. And what it makes me to think about, that sentence didn't really make sense, but how fast time moves. Okay, so I post this once a week, every single week, and this is episode 10. So 10 weeks have gone by like nothing. Like, it's already what? It's today is, I don't know, it's 25th, 26th, 27th, I don't even know. But, you know, we're about to approach the last month of the summer. And yeah, time flies at an insane rate. It's flying much faster than I would like to. Basically, I'm 25 right now, and it's just things are just moving and moving, and going to work, trying to work out, trying to meet my friends, trying to do this and that, and never feeling like I have enough time. And just like 2 months of the summer have gone like that. We're about to approach the last one. Then it's autumn. Then it's winter. New year, and you feel like the summer is approaching again. And the pace of modern life, it seems like it is insanely high. Like honestly, like everyone always, I work at the, like, I don't know how to explain it in English. I work at like a basically construction uh, fuck, how do I say this? Basically like Home Depot or something, um people where people, go to buy drywall or to buy, I don't know, like something else. I don't know the names of, building materials in English. So basically I work there, and I live in a pretty small, I don't know if I can call it a city, maybe a town. Let's say I live in a town, and I see quite a few people, during the day, and every one of them, okay, I don't want to see every one of them, maybe like 80% of them are like always in a hurry, like, I need this quickly, they can wait, can you do this faster? And everyone's just running and running and running, especially people who work at construction, not like normal people who come to the store to buy something for themselves, maybe do some small repairs at home. But the ones that work actually, like, they're like always running, and like, it seems like the pace of modern life is insanely high. And basically, you know, I have a day off today, and this is gonna be, seen in a separate video. Basically, I feel the same way where, similar way where whenever I have some free time, whenever I have a day off, I always, like, I really want to grow this podcast. I really want to grow Perevia. So whenever I have like a day off, or I'm approaching, the day before a day off, I'm always like, what am I gonna film? Like, what should I do? What kind of adventure should I go on? What can I film? What would people find interesting? Just always thinking. And then when a day off comes by, I'm like, all right, where am I going? What am I filming? What am I doing? I have only 2 days off, during the week. I need to use them well. And a couple of times, I have heard this Italian saying. Now, of course, I'm going to butcher this. Dolce, dolce fa. I have it written down, but I don't want to stand up. Basically, the translation to English is the sweetness of doing nothing. And yesterday I heard this just before I was gonna go to bed. I was scrolling a bit and I was like, maybe, today's Monday, I have a day off. Maybe I should spend this Monday doing nothing. Just, but that saying, the sweetness of doing nothing, it's interesting because it's not about like lazy and doing absolutely nothing. It basically means, like just sitting, maybe, as Italians, drinking a cappuccino and just like watching what's going on around and just being in the moment and enjoying that. And, I was thinking about it, maybe, because yesterday I was like still thinking, like, what am I gonna do today? Okay, I'm gonna be filming this podcast, which is great, but what else? And then I thought maybe I shouldn't do anything. Maybe I should just, sit down, maybe cook something outside, my front porch, and just enjoy the day. And I decided that, I'm going to try out this, Italian way of, basically maybe chilling or hanging out. Dolce far niente, something like that. The sweetness of doing nothing. Now, the whole concept of it is actually like interesting, Like it's not being lazy, but it's basically being present. Maybe, you're sitting at a beach and just looking at the sea, or maybe you're just, sitting at a, cafe and just, seeing what's going on in the city. And the more I think about it, the more interesting it gets, like, because it's such a different way of like spending a day instead of this, modern, like run, do, and just like basically this going from something, very high paced to going to something, a tiny bit more chill and relaxed. And, I haven't done this yet, but I think that having a day like this, maybe once, I don't know how often you should do it, but I think it should serve like as a good reset button. Just like you're doing whatever you need to do. You're doing, your job because you're putting food on the table. You're doing this and that, and then you spend the day dolce far niente, basically. The sweetness of doing nothing. And I think I'm gonna spend the day today like that. Maybe doing some cleaning around, cooking something, and just enjoying the day. So basically, that's the whole concept of it. I guess I could talk about it, a tiny bit better, and well, the next week when I actually, spend the day like that. But honestly, I think today's gonna be a good day. No pressure, no nothing. Just enjoying the day, basically. So yeah. Again, this is episode 10, and I'm trying to remember, how many episodes we've done with my friend on my old podcast. It's not available. I have, it's still on YouTube, but everything's private. But it's called, Lunchtime Podcast. And we've done it basically, thinking that it's gonna be really short, maybe, half an hour episodes. And, basically something that people could listen to during lunch. So basically what we've done is, I think we've done 35 episodes or something like that. And some of the episodes were like over 3 hours long, which I don't even know how did we manage to talk for this long, but I guess it's not that difficult. But yeah, honestly, doing it was actually quite a bit of fun. And I'm doing this podcast just because I enjoy it, just because I enjoy making this and just, sitting down and just talking for a bit. But honestly, I'm thinking like, okay, will this podcast be bigger than the other one? Because, it was really small. Am I going to be able to create more episodes on this podcast than the other one. You know, it's not a competition, but like my competitiveness, I'd say, you know, is always somewhere. But honestly, doing this, just sitting down and just talking, is actually something that I enjoy, you know. But yeah, as per usual, I am completely unprepared. Actually, I wanted to do something for episode 10 because even though it's a small milestone, it's a very small one, it's still a milestone, you know. But unfortunately, I am unprepared. So I guess, you know, this is gonna be just another very, very chill episode. Basically, I am working on a new collection right now. By the way, I don't know what I'm gonna be doing for that, but Perevia is going to be 1 year old brand. I like the quality brand. It's actually, you know, a microscopic brand right now, but it's going to be turning 1 on August 17th. So it's gonna be Perevia's birthday on August 17th. So I am, you know, uh, haven't decided what I'm gonna be doing for it, but I'm going to be releasing a new collection, which is going to be called Bound by Nothing. And, you know, it's gonna be just a couple of minimalistic, you know, clothing items, you know, very minimal. Maybe, you know, I decided that, you know, I have some with bigger designs, a tiny bit more colorful and flashy, and this one's gonna be available maybe for a month, 2, maybe 3. Then, you know, just, you know, something a tiny bit more minimalistic. So that's going to be releasing on August 17th. And what am I gonna be doing for Pereira's birthday? Actually, I don't even know. But it's actually, you know, really, really cool to think that, you know, a year has gone by, you know, doing something that I really, really enjoy. And honestly, I think the other thing that I want to talk about is, you know, basically the difference between doing something you really like and something you really, really dislike. So basically, as I said, you know, I work at like a Home Depot type of store basically. And, you know, there's very few people working there. And, you know, I'm always, you know, jumping in the forklift, you know, like grabbing, you know, like a pallet of cement, bringing it to someone, loading the cement, you know, by hand, and, you know, just running around, you know, forklift, unload maybe a truck, go talk to people, see what they want, and then, you know, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I really don't like my job. I don't enjoy it at all. And honestly, I am making not good money, but I am making decent money in my town. You know, there's not a lot of options in a small town. So I have, out of all of the worst, you know, ones, I'd say I have one of the best jobs, even though it still sucks. And every morning, when I wake up and I think that I need to go to work, I always think like, fuck. Like that's like my first words, you know, in the day. But when it comes to this, you know, something that I really enjoy doing, it's like I have a day off and I am going to be filming that day. I'm always like basically excited. Even before I go to sleep, I'm like laying in bed thinking what I'm gonna be doing, and you know what am I gonna be filming. And I really enjoy movies and cinema, and I'm thinking like how could I like maybe interpret bits and pieces from a movie, and how could I make my videos look more like cinematic movies. And I'm really excited by that. And you know, it's, you can clearly know how much you like something when you're not like making any money from it. Because right now, like, Perevia is costing me money, quite a bit of it, because I am always trying to buy something, you know, like gear for filming. I need to, you know, keep the clothing store running, which is not making any money right now. And honestly, it is costing me money and I still keep doing it, but I enjoy it. And this is such a weird thing where I get paid money from a workplace that I don't even like, that I don't even enjoy working at, But I'm doing this, making no money, actually losing money, but really enjoying and just doing it because I enjoy it. And doing it partly because I really believe, you know, that it can grow into something big. So, yeah, it's a weird thing to think about. Like, if you really enjoy making something, doing something, money is like, you know. And honestly, I'd say, you know, another thing is, well, how do I say it? It's episode 10, it's a small milestone. I don't want to be down or anything. But, for example, I am 25. I still live with my mom and my friends who are the same age. Some of them are getting married, buying houses, and I am, doing this, excuse me, doing this, something that has a very minimal chance of actually succeeding. And when I think about it, sometimes I think that I am missing out. Sometimes it feels like, my friends are, just doing these things and I am just, basically falling behind quite a bit. But the thing is, I have missed out on something big. Not big, but I have missed out on something that was really important to me at one point. And, I always had the question in mind, what if, how things would have turned out, and, just so many questions, so many unanswered questions. And it kept me thinking, and just looping around on the same thing that I wasted so much time and I wasted years thinking about it, that when I started building Perevia, I thought that it's gonna be, I much rather do this, something that I truly believe in, something that I really enjoy, and just fail. I much rather fail than, just find myself a job, buy myself a house, and just live like that. And just at some point in my life, like thinking, what if I tried building that brand? What if I've done it? What if maybe I would have failed, or maybe it would have worked out. I have such big regrets because I didn't take action at one point, that right now I think that I much rather do this and waste a lot of money, waste a lot of time, and fail miserably, but have the answer of knowing that I tried, I failed. I believe that I'm going to succeed, but let's just say, for example, that I fail. If I'm 50, 60, or 70, I will have the answer. I won't have a question. I will have an answer. Now, yes, that answer is probably not gonna be, fun, but I'll have an answer, knowing that I tried and I didn't make it. And I much rather, have an answer than have a question, because really, really wanting something and not taking action and then spending years, thinking about it, it almost drove me insane. I'm not gonna lie. I am a person who has trouble letting things go. That's one part of it. But honestly, that almost drove me insane. Now, the other thing is, I think I am building Perevia, doing this in a way where it's actually like fail proof. Like, I don't think I can fail doing this, because I am doing this, well, basically. So for example, Perevi is about everything that I enjoy. So it's adventure, it's cars, it's snowboarding, it's very broad, and it's about food, and it's just enjoying life and new experiences. And for example, last week or 2 weeks ago, I went to Latvia. I explored, a city that I've never been to before a bit. I really enjoyed that. So if I do this and it grows into nothing, I won't have, wasted time, because I went on adventures, I met new people, I've seen new places, I've had new experiences. So in a way, this whole brand, it will never, in my mind, it will never be a fail, because even if I don't make any money, if I don't succeed financially and at some point I'll need to quit, I won't have wasted time because I had these experiences, I met these people, I've seen these places. So I don't think I would have had the courage doing something that just for the purpose of money and taking the risk of failure, because if I, let's say, if I try to learn to trade stocks or like something like that, you know basically I could be making good money, but maybe I would fail, and then I would have spent this time working my normal job, then trying to learn to trade stocks, and maybe I don't enjoy it and I would have quit. That would have been such a massive waste of time. And then I would have, I think, definitely felt like I am falling behind my friends because they're like doing this and that. I'm falling behind my peers. But because I'm doing this, what I really enjoy, it will never be a failure and it will never be, a waste of time, because sitting here talking, I genuinely enjoy this. Jumping into my car, driving to a city that I've never been to, I really enjoy it. Going to another country, climbing a mountain, doing this like really difficult physical challenge, as well as like seeing the beauty of nature and mountains, I really love that. So, this will never be a failure, I guess, at least in my mind. So, even though, I feel like I'm falling behind my peers, but, I'm doing my own thing, I'm walking my own road. And honestly, we'll see what happens. If this grows into something big, great. If it doesn't, well, I have tried and I have failed. So yeah, I didn't want episode 10 to be a downer, but I guess it's just where the topics went to. So honestly, I'm quite happy that this is the 10th episode, small milestone. But I guess it's gonna be enough for today. Actually, this was I'd say I got some things off my chest. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today. I'm gonna think of something more fun to do for the next week, because 10th episode should have been a celebration, but I am unprepared. So it is what it is. And that's gonna be it for today. 10 episodes. Hopefully gonna go for another 10. And yeah, if you watched it till the end, if you listened till the end, well, thank you very much. Other than that, I'm gonna see you next week.